everybody, I am Pops, and welcome to another Comic Talk. We're here to talk comic books, and with me, a great guest to have back. Can you believe she's back? I'm excited. I'm excited to have her back. Megan Lee, the Noob Reviews. Oh my gosh, it's so good, girl. You've been blowing up since we talked last. It's so good to see you and have you chat comic books with this old man. How are you doing?
I'm pretty good. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. We're going to have some time. So if you're not subscribed, everything is in the comments, folks. Make sure you connect to Megan. Such a passionate comic book reviewer, talking about all sorts of different things. She has a live stream about once a week or so. So make sure you connect with her. Subscribe if you're not already, and find out how to support more comic book creators and reviewers and everything else going on in the world. That's what we talk about. So with that, I guess we should probably talk about what have you been reading? What have you been talking about? Or should we just jump right to one I know we both have read? I think we should probably jump to that one.
Yeah, let's do that one first.
All right. So we both have been big supporters, big fans. Ginger Ninja,
I don't mind.
Rough Rider. There we are. Steam Junk Western, baby. Anti Steam Junk Western. And I tell you what, it's been great. Thomas and James have been on my show. We did interviews with them. I know they're big followers and participants in your world and that kind of thing. I want to basically, before I even get into the actual book itself, I want to say kudos to you guys for making your dream come true. Kudos to you guys for pulling something off, because this is a great quality book. Before we get into the book,
yeah,
cardstock is great on the cover. It's a graphic novel. I'm not going to call it a comic book. It's a graphic novel. Super high quality. The pages are nice. The dynamics and the layout's nice. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of what we talked about. We teased all this. We teased a lot of these panels. We teased a lot of this art. We talked about the stories. We've done all that kind of stuff and that kind of thing. So,
it is nice to hold. Like it is nice to hold that. It's one of those ones that, like, because a lot of times my comic books, especially because they're older, like they're just like that paper, and you're afraid to curl newspaper up in bed and like read it. And this one you actually could. So
yeah, the graphic novel you can actually thumb through, and you're not messing it up. Like it's got a nice cardstock. You can hold it, and then you can be thumbing and looking, so you're not like messing it up. So it's definitely good. So when you heard about the book and now you have the book, was there an immediate takeaway that you had when you opened it up and got it? By the way, before we do that, we had some goodies, right? So you get a bookmark.
Oh, yes.
Got like coin, got little. So we got stuff.
Yes.
So
yep.
Anyway, so with that said, and those links will be down there. I'll have links there for you guys. Was there a take home or something you like your first impression kind of thing? Do you have any other first impression?
The first impression was like, I was surprised by the art. I felt like the art style was slightly different, I think, than what I was expecting. I don't know why, because I do appreciate Ginger Ninja, James, much of his art, but this one was different, and maybe that's just because it was a Western versus any type of like fantasy superhero style he's done before. So I think it took me by surprise, actually, and I was like, oh, okay. I don't know why, but it did.
Yeah, well, I won't say it took me by surprise, but I can say this: I kind of likened it to like old Western comics. Like I was a big fan of one called Jonah Hex. I enjoy Jonah Hex.
Heard of that.
And then there's also like the American Japanese books. So not the manga, but like Ronin was a remake that they did here. That's a Japanese content. It's that type of art. It's not the cape art. It's not superheroes and the cape and tights, right? It's different, and it's different type of storytelling, like the way, the use of different colors and different panels and things like that. So it is very, very interesting and dynamic in that way. Like the way it's telling the story involves a lot of changes in color palette and things that's move your mood. I know James talked about that, but I can't remember if Tom had written that into the script or not, or if it was a lot of creative liberties or back and forth. I'm not sure.
Right. Yeah.
But the end result was actually probably my biggest take home was how dynamic that is. It's a very the emotional part of that is very immersive, right? Taking you into different things. It's like it's blue and it's red and it's this and that, and you're
the colors are very bold.
Yeah, very, very much so. So, I will say that It's a fast read. I didn't have any problem getting through it. It's and there's whole segments of the action. Like it doesn't waste any time with action sequences. It's not like it's like a bunch of like, you know, Chris Claremont word balloons and things like that. So it's just it moves fast, and the pacing is it's a fast read. It gives you what you need to do, and it keeps moving. And I will say this, I don't know if you knew this, Megan, but Tom told me that he had like 20 books planned. Like it was like a massive universe.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because he was having a hard time explaining it to folks because this book is so Western, and that his universe was so much more dynamic than that.
So it's not just Western. You're going to go into other like
science fiction-y type elements and things like that, which in a way kind of makes sense to the story because it's laying it's laying a lot of groundworks that don't make sense, right? It's kind of felt like I'm in the Civil War, but I'm like,
I was very confused too because it's like this is the Civil War, and I was like, this is not the Civil War that I've known.
It's not the world that we know, right? So it's like an alternate universe of something, and things are different. Things are off, and you want to know more, but he doesn't really let us know a whole lot. So that's definitely the biggest negative is I don't have an idea where we're going yet because the story that he painted for me was very big and grand, which is great as a writer. But I'm like, well, wait, I don't want a big gap between this book and my next book because I don't really I got a prelude book. Sorry, I don't want to get into negatives exactly. Like this was a lot more of like a setup for and teasing me for a whole lot more of stuff that I don't have yet.
Yeah.
And I don't know. That's not a negative because it's good that he wants me to. It's good that I should want more. Like, okay, I don't quite know. It's like, oh, I shouldn't know. It's like a chapter 1 book, right?
It's true because they started with what they call this one, like 0.
Episode this 0. Is 0. This is book 0. Yeah,
which a lot of times they do like 1 and then a few, right, and then you go back to 0.
Like an origin book.
Yes,
this is
like
definitely clearly an origin book, and you have a lot of different origins that are happening. A lot of fundamental elements that are being set up here that they're going to build on. So I can say that I was invested to learn more, but I didn't get a whole lot of answers, which again, partly by design. I get that. So, okay. So if I had to be negative or at least try to offer some critiques, my biggest critique is it's very uneven. Like it's the pacing and the dialogue, so they get very even. So in the beginning, the way this narrator is explaining their universe, it's an older guy, and he's talking, and there's a lot of rhyme, and there's no other rhyme.
Very unnatural. Yeah, compared to the rest of it, like it didn't feel like it flowed. You could have started that way, like this is just he's kind of a eccentric character, obviously. Like they definitely want to show him as an eccentric character, which I totally got that he's a little bit eccentric and whatnot. But then
because he's talking to us, right?
Yeah.
It's like a fourth wall break that he's talking to us, but he's talking to us in rhyme. And I thought that was just uneven with everything else. So I'm not even saying that's totally bad. It just because there's no other rhyme or no other references to him. Like he didn't close either. Like he's not at the end of the book, which I thought was actually maybe the other part. It's like, well, wait a minute. Why did I need the narrator then? Why didn't you just, I thought he was going to show up at the end and tease me about what happens next.
Trying to close it up.
Yeah, maybe.
That makes sense.
But, yeah. So, and then I think with some of the events of the story, because there's a lot of moments, there's not a lot of action, so it can be very uneven. I don't mean that as being, again, it's an origin book, so origin books tend to be a lot more wordy and less action, a lot more setup for payoffs later on, those kinds of things. That's the kind of things. But we kind of go along, and then when there is action, there's not a lot. In some cases there's no dialogue, so it's like you have just this. You go from we're going to talk about it to action breaks out, and you have like panels and pages and panels and pages, and then you're like, then back to the store. So again, uneven, not necessarily a massive negative, just being honest, right?
Yeah, I would agree, for sure.
I think bold was a good use. That was a good way to explain the colors. Like it's just massive changes with emotions and things like that are in there.
Yeah.
Like I said, I gotta give them credit too, man. It is a great start for your universe as two people who are now professionals, but this is their first book, and so that's pretty remarkable. Any other thoughts or you can think of that we should get into a little more?
No, I do want to see the second one, and I want to see how they build on it and everything that we've been introduced to.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking forward to that, to see how they build upon it, for sure.
Yeah, I felt like we have a lot of elements. I don't have a ton of answers. I feel like I've watched like 2 episodes of Lost, and this is not at all where this is going. Like I'm like, wait a minute. I'm very, I'm not confused. Just wait a minute. Okay. I know there's more. That's what I know.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
So anyway, that's our thoughts on Ante Steam Junk Western. So again, I'll put the links there for you guys to go over and get that information and hopefully get yourself a copy. So I think they're still doing some on-demand printing and things like that are still out there.
Mm-hmm.
I got to plug my phone in. See how professional I am. We're here watching my phone go dead. That's when Mrs. Pops will need me. We're selling animals now. Now we've moved.
Oh my goodness.
It's been busy. Oh, it's going to be nuts for us, Megan. That's the last time we've talked. Let's see. The one pig gave birth to 5 babies. The goat gave birth to her first baby, so she has a little boy.
Oh my goodness.
And then of the 5 pigs, 2 are sold for sure. One's almost done to be sold. We're trying to finalize details on the pig. The other 2 pigs, other girls, they're both pregnant, and the other 2 goats are also pregnant. So we'll have a whole springtime session of animals coming. Yeah, oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
You're like farming. You are hardcore farming now.
Mrs. Pops is farming.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I may be funding the farm to some degree as far as my labor. I'm transferring my labor to farm labor. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Mm-hmm. That's so crazy.
Yeah, one day she'll vacation to Florida for a time to come visit the farm, and we'll go pick her up, and she'll be like, "Where are you taking me?" You know, like this.
Off into the wilderness.
Off into the woods. Yes.
FYI, we just needed more farm laborers.
So, all right. So we drifted. That's my little sidebar to transition us from comic books into my personal life. But
we often do that.
So, okay. So you told me, though, I'm so excited too. You were like coming up with financial solutions to some OG comics. And I was like really excited because there's like original stuff and the non-original stuff. So pick one that we should dive into and let's talk about it and what your thoughts are.
Okay. So let's do Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman.
I'm going to take it out of the bag so it doesn't.
Yeah. For those of you at home don't know, she got facsimile copy.
And when I first got into Wonder Woman, so here it is. Mm-hmm. This is the introduction of Nubia, who also calls herself Wonder Woman of her island. Mm-hmm. So when I first found Wonder Woman, and I did a couple reviews of Wonder Woman, and I didn't like her. These copies of her I had, because I found her kind of like she just cried a lot. She just kept crying. Like every couple pages, she was crying over something. I was like, I get it. You're a woman. We cry. But like, you're also Wonder Woman. Mm-hmm, I feel like you need to keep it together a little bit more. I have higher expectations of you. And so I guess that Wonder Woman just didn't do as well in that time. And so this is, in my minor little research and what I've been told, this is the redo of Wonder Woman. So this is number 204.
What number is that?
204.
Okay.
Yes.
First appearance in Nubia. Okay. All right.
And they're calling it the second life of Wonder Woman. Introducing Nubia. And unlike the other couple issues I had read of Wonder Woman, this one also gave me a lot of backstory into Wonder Woman and how she came to be, about her mother, just more of the history.
So it wasn't just the origin. It's just not Nubia. It's a lot more elaboration of like the whole culture and stuff, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Which I needed because I hadn't really got that before.
Yeah, it is a little frustrating sometimes whenever books, because Stan Lee used to talk about this all the time. Like you kind of have to be able to put stuff in there to let new people come in. Like if you don't have like a little reference to what the power is, or you don't have little explanations of things, then how are you going to get new people? No one's going to be able to understand. So
exactly.
Yeah.
And awesome. Then also that like the Hercules all that bit with Hercules in there, with all the women, and he basically, what's her mom's name? Hippolyta.
Yep.
Yeah, Hippolyta. Yeah, he stole her girdle so that she was powerless. All these things happen. I didn't even know.
So you have like a lot of the mythology and stuff like that it was flushing out for you, so you get further into the rabbit hole. Did you like how Wonder Woman was portrayed and how she came across in this compared to what you said earlier, where she seemed like she was much more emotional?
Yeah, I did like her much better. How they portrayed her in here. She does have like a battle scene with Nubia in here. Definitely not so over emotional. Which just bothered me so much last time. Yeah.
She is definitely one of the most, talk about, me reusing the word uneven from before to now. She is one of the most uneven of all the characters. And I have to be honest, I haven't been able to really get into and enjoy reading her consistently because of that too. Like artists and creators just like trying all sorts of crazy different things with her all the time.
There's so many versions of her out there. There's just like our modern day Wonder Woman now. I don't really like those comic books very much, but I'm thinking I'm going to like this Second Life, this story arc, so I want to try and kind of follow it along. Yeah,
I will say this, I'm happy to hear that you at least liked a lot more of the Greek mythology stuff, because I found some of it just too much. It was just
dramatic, or just like
no, it's just so much Greek mythology that I'm just like, I'm not. I think it was the New 52 run. I think that's a pretty good writer on it as well. I think Brian Azzarello wrote it or whatever, and was just like, okay. I did like Wonder Woman in the Flashpoint story, which is like this. So Flashpoint is this story where the Flash goes back in time to save his mom. Okay. But when his mom is saved, he doesn't become Flash. So when he wakes up, he realizes the whole universe is synced. Now, I don't care for the concept because I think it's silly that he has like butterfly effect. Basically, it changes everything.
Right.
For Wonder Woman, when she gets off of Paradise Island, she's attacked and saved by Aquaman. And they basically agree, I don't want to say fall in love, but they kind of like pull their cultures together. And they're going to love on each other. They have chemistry. But then I think it is, I forget her name, that it betrays the agreement, attacks. Anyway, one attacks an Atlantean, kills an Atlantean kills one of theirs. And it creates like World War III. Wonder Woman in this universe and her little standalone stories and stuff, they're actually pretty good. She's pretty hardcore and pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I liked all of that. But when it jumps back into real time, which is why we end up in New 52, I didn't like it at all. I was like, it was way too. It's like God sitting around at a bar talking and things like. I was just like, I'm not getting this. So the fact that you found something that you like,
I did.
If I've read that issue, which I'm not even saying that I have, because it's been a long time since I read like Wonder Woman comic books. The only Wonder Woman comic books that I own are crossover stuff with Batman stuff. It'd be like Joker's in it, Batman's in it, something like that. So it'd be something I would have had to read as part of something else.
Right.
So, okay. Well, that's good. So who's the writer and the artist on that? Do you know? I'm sorry.
Oh, I have to look now because I'm not going to remember. We have publisher. Jim Lee is the publisher. Nick. Okay, this is.
Well, that's all the reprint stuff.
Yeah, that's all the reprint stuff.
Yeah. Here I go. Don Heck and Robert.
Oh, it's further in.
Kanier?
Yep.
Conager? I don't know how to say his name. I have no idea who he is. Don Heck, I know. Don Heck's been around a long time.
It was super interesting though because this is a reprint. They have this like small print at the bottom that says, "The comic reprinted in this volume was produced in a time when racism played a larger role in society and popular culture, both consciously and unconsciously. It is presented here without alteration for historical reference. And I was like,
Nubia is black.
And that's the only thing.
Gosh,
literally
seriously?
Nothing happened. Like, there's nothing in here that I was like, oh, because I read the comic, and then I was going back and reading like the information in the small print, and I read that and was like, what? Did I miss something? What was racist in here?
So they put
and
a,
I go back, there's
put
nothing racist in there.
So they put like a trigger warning on your comic book.
Yes, and I'm like, there's nothing in here.
Racially insensitive or disparaging or anything. She's just a kick butt warrior.
Yeah. And she doesn't actually end up beating Nubia. It's like a tie. So
she's on even playing field with Nubia.
Yeah. So I was like, I don't.
This isn't like Peter Pan. Like, I mean, I think it's silly to have a trigger warning on Peter Pan. But when you watch Peter Pan and you see the way the Indians are, you know, they're literally smoking peace pipes, and they're really leaning into some of the original tropes and things like that. And you're like, all right, it's insensitive at least. I think people have gotten a little too sensitive to these things anyway. But the fact that there's a trigger warning on Nubia's origin when she's basically showing that she's even with Wonder Woman.
Yes. Yeah. Well, so that was interesting. And then, I mean, this has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but I went and sometimes I'll go and find like really, really old kids comics, and I found it Raggedy Ann and Andy from 1947.
Okay. Yeah.
That is something that needs a trigger warning on it. Okay. I was like, oh, and I did review it on my channel, and I was like, okay, well, okay.
All right. Well, there you go.
It was a different time, everybody.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, that's things then there were like actually insensitive. Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. All right.
But I just was like, this is not.
And I also don't understand this obsession with it whenever you're putting Nubia on a pedestal. If anything, I'm a little triggered that you're saying that Nubia is as strong as Wonder Woman. I think that's ridiculous. So, but all right.
Anyway, just an interesting little side note there about that. And then I went to the other facsimiles that I have, and I had to check and be like, did they do trigger warnings on these ones? Not so far, but
all right. Well, we'll have to keep checking. I haven't really gotten into facsimiles, but
I mean, I would always prefer to like own the original, but this one, some of them they're harder to find because she wasn't as popular, so then it's more expensive, and I just wouldn't be able to afford that.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, this stuff can get very expensive sometimes. Yeah, it's crazy. And actually, that's where we'll go to next. We'll go to one of your other ones that you have. This actually would be quite expensive. Any last thoughts on Wonder Woman before we move on? I'm sorry.
No, that was it. Those are all my thoughts.
Is it your new favorite Wonder Woman comic book in your collection?
Yes, it is actually. Yeah.
See, you go, Nubia. You go, girl. Yeah, I can be insensitive. Pops needs a trigger warning.
Oh man.
She knows me personally enough to know if I'm triggering them, something's probably wrong with the world.
Something's wrong.
Yes.
No. Okay, so the one that I have that is not a facsimile is She-Hulk.
I know, and she opens it up. She's manhandling the She-Hulk right in front of me like this. I'm supposed to take it. She's like, but it's an original, Pops, and it's a newsstand that survived all these years. Cool. Savage She-Hulk, baby. Savage She-Hulk.
She-Hulk.
So is that your first She-Hulk?
And that's like a very sexy She-Hulk, too. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, that's not even nothing. Wait till you get to Sensational She-Hulk, man. Let me tell you what. She's jumping rope naked in one of them.
Okay, and I'm going to admit I'm showing this comic and I haven't actually read it yet.
Okay, well, that's cool. No, so that's fine. We can tease. Next time we can hear about Now, this is very important, too, because the show makes quick reference to Savage She-Hulk like imagery, but they completely rewrite all of the origin. So the whole part of the outrage of why most of us were a little frustrated with how She-Hulk began was because they so radically change it for no reason. There was no benefit to changing it. They made it worse. They actually devalued the character with their change. So I'll be interested to see what you think of the comic book and what you think of her origin and those kinds of things. So, but Savage She-Hulk come out first, and it kind of takes off, but it doesn't really make her the household name or anything like that. She kind of it's kind of his thing, and it definitely was done. It was contrived so that because of copyright, right? Oh, there's Hulk. Well, let's hurry to come up with her Hulk or She Hulk, right? You got to come up with some sort of Hulk girl, Hulk woman, something. That's what they were going for, right? They didn't really have a plan, I don't think. And then when you get to Sensational She-Hulk, where John Byrne starts writing this stuff and he makes the fourth wall breaks and it becomes addictive fun. It's incredibly addictive fun because it's so insane. Like, oh my gosh. And she's so funny. She's so funny. And the writer, the John Byrne stuff, when you get to Sensational She-Hulk, a lot of the jokes are at his expense. And I don't mean like a faceless person, like, you, Mr. Byrne, I'm talking to you. Something. Why would you write this about me? Like, it's so fun.
Wow.
Oh yeah. She was meta before meta was a thing.
That's funny.
Yeah. So you guys let me know how Savage She-Hulk it kicks off another sort of like rabbit hole for Megan. Savage She-Hulk. Well, I'll be watching for that review. So, all right. Well, take us to the one that you did read. And
the one I did read. I got Hulk. This is a facsimile of Hulk. And I also have like a graphic novel of all of these original ones, but I got this facsimile.
Yeah, Hulk #1, baby, where it all began.
And like, look at it. He's changed so much over the years, right?
Oh yeah.
So much. This Hulk in here, especially in here, like, I get sort of Frankenstein vibes, actually.
Yep.
Very much Frankenstein vibes. I think his assistant's name is Igor.
Yeah, it's totally a derivative of Frankenstein.
Yeah, he's not very green. He's more grayish.
No, he's gray.
He's changed color. His face, his shape, everything changed. He changes into Hulk at night, and then when the sun comes up, he goes back human.
Yeah, a lot of playing around with. So he's almost like a proto Hulk because he's not the Hulk that anyone knows. Like, he's really not the Incredible Hulk. He has completely different powers in the sense of when he changes and doesn't change, and kind of just all the dynamics are completely different. I think this is a little weird for people too, because they go back and try to start at the beginning. You're like, wait, this isn't the Hulk. Well, if you think there's a character that's changed a lot over the years, the Hulk has been through some iterations. Let me tell you. Wait till he's been green for a while and they make him gray. Then your head just like, I don't understand what's happening. There's multiple Hulks. He's multiple personalities and stuff. Oh yeah, it's a crazy wild ride at Hulk land. So is this your first Hulk comic book?
Yes, like I've seen Hulk in like a couple of the Avenger movies or whatever, but I was never like, this is like the first Hulk I've read. And so I didn't have, like most people have, that attachment or that knowledge of Hulk as he is today kind of thing. So for me, it wasn't, obviously I was like, oh wow, what a difference. But it wasn't like very shocking or anything or upsetting in any way. It was very intriguing to see how much he's changed and in how many ways. I think that's so interesting that his story has come from where it's come from. It's just,
it's a radical evolution and change for sure.
Yeah.
And what he can remember and what he can control and can he control himself as Hulk? What does he remember when he wakes up as Banner? And at that point, right, it was tied to the moon and things like that, where it says later on, it's about his anger and his emotions and personality disorder and all that.
Yeah. Because in here, he doesn't remember.
Correct. In the beginning,
he doesn't remember anything.
Yeah, what have I done kind of thing. Yeah, and some of the issues and some of the greater stories that I enjoy the most, it's like he doesn't remember and he's mortified. It's like, I did what? How many people died when he destroyed Hulk destroys this building? You're like, I killed kids. I did what? He's really an emotional wreck. He really is a mess. So that's interesting. What's some of your other take homes? What about Banner? What was your thoughts of how different Banner is?
All I have to compare again, is the Avenger movies, and I found him a little bit almost whiny.
Okay.
or like very much woe is me, and then because of that, very isolated himself, right?
Yes.
From people. And so this Hulk, this Banner, basically, I mean, at this point, he's not. He's working very closely with a large group of people on some bomb or whatever. He's not. He's not socially awkward or weird or anything like that.
Nope. Super smart.
Very
Scientist dude.
smart. Yeah, very smart, very nice.
H-bomb projects, baby. Working on a bomb. Gamma
very
radiation.
Sociable. Yep. So there's quite a difference between not just the two Hulks, but the two Banners as well.
Is it what is it like reading a book, lack of a better term, that is that old? Like it's so, is it feel dated?
It does. Yes. It does, because there's very few.
You talked about reading Raggedy Ann and Andy, but reality is that's not a big pop culture thing today. Compared to the Hulk, it's still very active in pop culture. So it seems like it's the kind of thing that dates differently, feels differently.
It does, because there's actually, in this particular one, there are a few female characters, but they're very, very minor. And like the one is like the daughter of a general or whatever who's working with Banner, and the way that he speaks to her is like very different versus how, you know, people speak to women nowadays or whatever. It was very different. Not that I was like super triggered, like, oh my gosh, how could he? But I was like, oh, interesting.
There's definitely some tone and some demeaning.
Yes, because she's a woman and she wasn't allowed to be in the lab and blah, 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 like all these things, right? It was interesting. Yeah. Because I mean, what is this? 1940s? Like, yeah.
Not quite 50s? That old. Let's not get too carried away. I think it's in the 60s. I think it's in the 60s.
Sure.
I'm pretty sure. Incredible Hulk #1. Yeah.
Here's me like.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Incredible Hulk was not a Marvel. Marvel was a different thing before. Yeah.
Dun, 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 I don't know where if it's actually going to tell me. It's probably not.
Your facsimiles are weird. It's 1962.
Okay, it's not that old.
Yeah.
But still.
All right, let's talk about the art. Because I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the art.
The art?
Jack Kirby. Jack Kirby is got this incredible attention to detail in all the backgrounds and all the little things like that and stuff like that. Did you notice any of that, or is it not as prominent, or what do you think?
I think now you're saying it, and I'm looking through it, but I no.
Okay.
Pointed out to me. What am I supposed to notice?
I didn't know. I was just curious. That's what he's known for. I don't remember that issue off the top of my head to point out a certain page or anything like that, but I know what I was reading like one of the origin issues with Black Panther, and there was all these gears and stuff behind them and all the Kirby art. It's like it was all very intricately drawn and penciled in with all these details, stuff like that. Oh my gosh, this guy spent so much time on this useless background that's not even relevant to the story. So I know that he did the art on the Incredible Hulk one. I just wasn't sure if you were noticing anything interesting about the art.
I didn't. Like, yes, he does backgrounds, and he doesn't. I mean,
because let's face it, you've seen some modern comics. There's not a lot of backgrounds in some of this kind of stuff. They're pretty flimsy.
He's got more.
Yeah.
In some ways going on.
Didn't knock your socks off. That's all it's worth noting. But, that's all there is.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a lot. It's okay.
I guess I didn't pay enough attention, or
it's okay.
Now I'm gonna pull out comic books. I'm gonna compare them. I'm gonna get obsessed with this.
I know, my job. Well, because we're talking about Incredible Hulk, and I don't know that I've ever shown Megan.
Oh.
Not a big Incredible Hulk fan or collector. This is the only comic book that has survived since Little Pops. This is a reprint of 128. No cover. Literally from little 6-7-year-old Pops.
Oh my goodness.
That's the only one that survived. I found it. It's like stuck it in a little bag and a board.
It still looks different than Hulk of nowadays.
Oh,
Still.
massively different than your
Yeah.
Incredible Hulk one. Like here, he starts to actually kind of have a standard look of what
Mhm.
they're going for with the purple pants and the way his design is, the round head,
Yep.
the way he's proportioned, the way he speaks. You know, just like Hulk smashed his way under these rocks. Hulk's the strongest there is. It's very, first person kind of thing, right?
Mhm. Which he did a
Um,
little bit of that in this
mhm.
first one, but not a lot. The
Yep.
Hulk in this first issue didn't really talk a lot.
Right. Not a lot of Hulk smash.
Nope.
Yep.
Nope.
Yep. I love the dialogue too, because it's like this is their way of catching you up. We were talking about how to follow the story. So this is Hulk talking. Mole Man won't follow Hulk. Tyrannus won't follow Hulk. If they do, Hulk will smash them, just like he did in their armies. And there's an asterisk because it refers to all the stories that they're talking about.
Oh,
That's their
man.
way of catching you up on what he's been doing with them.
Hulk narrative.
I know, isn't it great? I don't want to open it up. I was going to open it up and
yeah.
look at it. I'm like,
That's so cool.
it's obviously been manhandled, obviously, because I have same thing with like my action figures. I have a bucket of action figures that I was showing off on a different stream, and there's like the paint's gone, the stickers are gone. It's just one doesn't have a head, one doesn't have an arm. It's like it's like a little boy. It's like a little kid we play with, right? It's just me. That was
You played
they're mine.
with them.
They're my. Oh, we played with them. Oh, let me tell you right now. Oh yeah.
Did you like try and make homemade parachutes and throw them off the deck?
I wasn't really into parachutes too much. A little bit. I just very early on learned it was not going to work. Like I just knew it wasn't going to work. So obviously in Empire Strikes Back, they freeze Han in that machine, right? They put him in carbonite. So I can't tell you how many times I was in trouble for putting another action figure in the freezer and freezing one of them to make it part of my imaginary story that I was acting out or whatever. Or I was taking, I would take knives, forks and spoons out in the yard to dig and do things. I'd be in trouble for that. So yeah, these action figures were, water, sand. It was all part of the game. Whatever I was allowed to do and probably not allowed to do. Yeah, it was. So, but yeah, no, I mean, yeah. So we left. Yeah, we left there in '79. I was 8, hadn't turned 9 yet. So the comic book dates back to before that. So yeah, it's the only one I have left. I don't know where the others went, but yeah, they're there.
Can you imagine if you had all those other ones?
Nope, I don't want to think about it. Actually, worse than the comic books, to be perfectly honest. I know people will be shocked when he's saying this. While I had cool comic books, it was nothing compared to the sports cards that I had. Oh my gosh. I cannot even imagine. So I know we're little sports ball talk for those of you who don't know what we're talking about. Here, sports ball. So in basketball, there's a famous basketball card, and it's the rookie card. It's like they had these the card where it had 3 pictures on one card. So it was Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, and Julius Erving. So it's the Larry Bird and the Magic Johnson rookie card on one card with Julius Erving. Thousands of dollars. Thousands of dollars. I probably had multiples of this thing.
Oh my word!
Because we were moving, and when these came out, they were buying them to keep me entertained. Like literally, cards was the thing. They could just cheaply get me cards, and it was stuff. I can tell you all the statistics. I can tell you there's crazy things that roll around in my brain. Like, why do I know how tall this guy was? Like, I don't even know why we need to know that. Yeah, it's just in there, stuff like that. So,
oh man,
no, you just learn. I mean, yeah, you don't have regrets. You just got to keep moving, keep rolling, gotta keep rolling. So, but yeah. Do you have stuff from your childhood like that? Toys or something you've kept or something that survived?
Very few. Like, I was like into Beanie Babies as a kid. I don't have, like, they're not really worth anything. I only have a couple. Honestly, we played outside a lot. We was outside a lot. And I think I had a dollhouse that has been passed on to my nieces, like my sister. But yeah. We didn't have a lot of toys from, like, we had toys, but they weren't like popular toys. Because like growing up, we didn't have a TV. We didn't have all those things, and so we were not aware of pop culture, so it wasn't something we would ask for. And my parents never really encouraged that because my dad grew up with a TV and pop culture stuff, but it was never something. It was interesting. It was never something he introduced us to. And then my mom just like wasn't into that because her father was like, they were very strict Baptist. So yeah, I didn't have any.
She was too busy building forts, people.
I built so many. You guys, you can put me out in the woods. I can survive.
She'll build a fort. I don't know about catching food and water and stuff like that, but she definitely will have a fort.
I could build a fort. I would build a fort with a bed. We'd have a nice, comfy bed to sleep in. I'm just saying. I know how to build a shelter.
That's so awesome. It's so awesome. So.
Yeah, I ran around in hay bales and howling at coyotes, and yeah, I was like a wild child. Me and my siblings. We're a wild country children.
We're definitely no comic books, that's for sure. Right? Definitely no comic books.
No comic books. I think the only comic books I came across were at my public library. Yeah, and there are Asterix and Obelix. And then some Archie comics. Yeah. Which I never really got into. I never really cared for those. So.
Right. That's awesome. Yeah. So what else are you reading right now? You got anything else that you're doing regular reviews on or anything like that?
I'm doing a lot of manga reviews right now. So I've been, one is called Demon Slayer, and it's like, there's a very popular anime. So they have the show out right now. So I've been working through that. I've been working through one called Death Note, which has been very interesting because it very much plays with human psychology and behavior, because basically there are these gods in the other world or whatever, and they have each of them have a book, and if they write the name of a human in that book, then and the time in which that human will die and everything, then that human will die. So these are the gods that like control life and death, and then that god has more life for themselves. So they're not like a invincible god, but they're almost invincible. Anyways, it's very interesting because one drops the notebook and a human finds it and figures out what it is and starts to use it. Starts out using it for good. So, there's like a murderer that shows up on the news on TV. And so they're a horrible, horrible person who's done horrible, horrible things. And so he'll write that person's name in the book and that their time of death, and they will die. And so it starts out, it's very interesting because it kind of makes you think like is who is to judge, if someone should live or die and at first you're okay with him doing this. You're like, oh, they're all bad guys. Like, they're all bad guys.
I was going to say, you painted this as he's doing good in the beginning, but basically he just was judge, jury, and executioner by writing the name in the book for someone that he's heard on TV may have done something, which I think was like, I had a lot of pause in my brain whenever you said that. Like, well, wait a minute. I mean, I get it. Like, he's taking care of the criminal, but I'm not sure that's the role we should all be aspiring.
No, definitely not. I don't think so. But it's just interesting that would make people think this, and that they would take this idea and build a story on it. Because at this point now, where I am, he's decided, I'm going to create a utopia.
Of course,
I'm going to get rid of all the bad people. Well, who's bad? Like,
yeah, everyone can be bad.
Everyone can be bad. Yeah. Like, So yeah, it's been interesting. For sure.
And that's the Death Note.
That's the Death Note.
Demon Slayer is like one of the biggest selling mangas of all time. Like, it's a massive.
It's massively popular. Yes, it's fun. It's more like it's not as like heavy as Death Note. It's a little more like preteen kind of sort of thing. Yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, that's what I've been up to.
That's it.
And getting into video gaming, which I'm really bad at, but it's so fun.
Yes, there's some streams and dabbling with the video gaming, the gamer noob.
Yep.
Noob gaming. One of those.
Very grateful for my chat. Megan, you need to do this. Oh, okay. I'm like, cool, I will. Press that button. No, the other one.
Oh, I got you. Okay, so she's being coached by chat. So her and her chat are gaming.
Me and my chat are gaming. It's really funny.
I am not about to criticize anyone gaming. I would not be able to get out of a room. I just, what's the joke on
Gary?
Nerdrotic talks about walking the horse off the cliff? I'm like, yeah, that would be me.
Well, he's starting to game now, but I actually want to watch part of that one with Az, like walked him through it. I was like, I'm not a bad gamer. Poor Az is like, you need to press the X. No, that. Oh man, poor Gary didn't even know what the controller buttons all were. It was funny. It was really funny.
I don't know what they are. I haven't gamed. What little bit I've done with my kids when they were young, I had no patience.
I mean, I really can't judge because I'm just learning myself. But yeah,
I literally play the Tetris wood game on my phone. That's the extent of my gaming. I literally do nothing. I did no desire for game. I was doing Scrabble for a little bit with, and it was like you have these random person that you're playing with, or it's a robot pretending to be a person. I don't even know. They're taking too long to respond, so hence the reason I think they're a human. So I lost interest because it's like, well, I'm playing right now, and then it's like nothing would happen. I wake up the next day. It's like it's your turn. It's like, well, I don't even know what I don't know patience for this game. Like this game was yesterday. I don't know. I don't know what I have. I don't know. Yeah, no. So I had to stop playing that. So no, I don't do that.
Funny.
Business Pops does the same thing. She has like one or two little things that she'll dabble with, but we're not like gamers. It's not. So, but listen, folks, Comic Talk, Megan, Noob reviews, tons of great reviews. We're going to hear more about She-Hulk here very, very soon, I assume. Tons of videos, obviously more about some of the manga that she's reading and things like that. Tons of stuff, and get to see her game. How could you not want to subscribe to watch someone learn to game? Right before your eyes, she's learning to game. Right before you could be part of chat, giving her instructions.
I take tips of all the things
I take tips. See, I say that. You guys think I mean super chats. She says that. She means video controller.
Yes. Tell me what button to push.
Listen, folks, every Wednesday we do Comic Book Wednesdays, Comic Talk. There'll be 10:15. That's when these drop. It's a fun time talking with her. She'll be back with me, of course, because I'll harass her until she comes back. And then usually I throw a review or two up. We'll see what I can manage, depending on the schedule, where I'm at on my reading stuff too. Because like you said, it's like it is hard reading different things. You're trying to read different things simultaneous because you are trying to mix it up for people. I've read a lot digitally lately because it's just hard to kind of manage, the budget plus the time and everything else. It's easier for me to like, can we already do a video? It's like I read like 3 or 4. I read the whole story, right? 3 or 4 issues in a row. Now I can do a video on that. Like it's a video,
right?
And I'll do something else. But people are like, well, I'm on this issue. I'm like, well, yeah, but I'm back on this story over here. I'm behind you because I had to read it in components so that fits the video structure of what I'm doing. Don't mess me up, man. Don't mess me up. Poor Megan. She puts up with me. I don't know why. Well, listen, folks, we appreciate you hanging out with us so much. And nothing else. We're talking comic book nerd stuff. I don't know. Maybe it's your thing. We're loving it. We're having fun doing it. Thank you again to Megan for being with me doing this. As always, be blessed. Make tomorrow better than today. Talk hard. Thank you so much. I'm Pops.
See you guys.